For TraderInsight.com, I'm Adrian Manns. It's Monday, January 10th, 2022. Let's take a look at where the opportunities were found today. Those of you who know me know that I like to take Monday very, very slowly. So Monday mornings, I tend to start trading a little bit later. I let the market settle in quite a bit before I start looking for opportunities. This morning, there were a bunch of gap trades. I missed out on that train, sadly. But there was also opportunity to be found in our intraday fastball expansion setups. So again, what you're looking for is a stock that's making a fastball expansion of range, expansion of volume on a daily chart, and you're looking for that to happen early in the trading session. So by 10 o'clock or so Eastern time, you want to see that the bar that's being put in is already really, really wide range. And that was the case with UPS this morning. So UPS was trading on expanded range and what looked to be decent volume. Looks like it's going to wind up being expansion of volume day as well. And we had this big waterfall sell-off right into the open. So when you get this kind of thing going on, you should right away focus on the tool set, right? And one of the things that we go to first is a fib study. So the fib study gives us a peak to trough reading of 217.23 down to 211.39, and that then sets up a 382 pullback right around 213.62, which happens to be confluent with 213.32. So you get an idea here that we might have a trade that makes sense on the short side from a pivot, and that we're going to look to go lower. Now, are we looking for this extreme tick down here? In my case, no. I was looking more for this 212 level where there was a bunch of clustering of morning activity, and you can see there's a big volume by price bump out there. And then also look at your other tools. So you've got a volume weighted average price, an anchored VWAP right here that corresponds beautifully. It's at 213.77. So the entire sell-off had an anchored VWAP 213.77. That again says that's likely resistance right there and sets us up for a nice trade for breach of the S2 pivot line at 213.32 with a target at 212. So 132 per share traded, and really all you had to do was stay frosty in the morning, look for a stock that was making the widest range bar of the past 10 sessions on a daily chart and was doing it early in the trading day. So what you're doing here is instead of waiting for the fastball setup on the daily chart, you're trying to capitalize on it intraday. A bunch of you have sent me questions about, this new strategy, and it's really not a new strategy at all. It's that same old cornerstone fastball expansion of range and volume setup from Around the Horn, a trader's guide to consistently scoring in the markets. I've been doing it since then, since I wrote that book. So since 1997, this has been one of my core trades. Later in the day, we did have opportunities again inside support and resistance. You can see you had an anchored VWAP for this sideways channel. That was at about 212.46. 212.67 was the level that I eyeballed for support and resistance. And when we came up here the first time and reversed, comes down, settles in at 211.94. That's right where it found support earlier in the session. So when it comes up and it ticks through 212.67, and then we get this double header setup, comes back down through, that's our indication that it's a good time to consider taking a 212.67 entry with an 11 spot 94 target. It's because we had support right here at 11.94 to 11.94, and we had prior resistance at 212.67. And then when it does it again, you get this move down into 211.94 again, right? So you have a nice trade here. And then, of course, you're kicking yourself if you got out of that position because the stock went on and moved down to 211.26. But as I said before, I encourage you to have the courage of your convictions and look at these things from the vantage point of here's what I'm going to do, here's how I'm going to manage the trade. And if you set up a bracket order that said get me in here and get me out here, and that's what happened, then pat yourself on the back. Don't kick yourself in the ass about it, because you did what you were supposed to do, and you had no way of knowing that this was going to track lower here. The next time that we got up into that resistance area at 212.67, we actually didn't touch that line, so no trigger, but had it come back down from there and settled in, then maybe you would want to extend that target and see if you couldn't get down into those lows again. But like I said, I didn't have a trigger on it the second time around. So that's the logic behind one of today's fastball expansion of range and volume setups. Here's another one. This is West Rock Corporation. This is ticker symbol WRK. Not as exciting here, not as big of a dollar move, but also not as pricey of a stock. You can see we had this big sell-off first thing in the morning. This is your expansion of range, expansion of volume move right here. You had this giant slide down from the opening bell, 47.34 down to about 45.71. If we take a fib study of the second leg of that move, which is really from that central pivot line of $46, around 46.72 really was where it took off from, 46.72 down to 45.71, we can see that the 138.2% expansion would be 45.32 with a 45.2150. So 45.20 is 150% expansion. That wound up being the bullseye for the first move down from this S2 pivot. So how do you handle this trade? What are you really looking for? Are you looking for the 150 or are you looking for the 382? You guys know I tend to err on the side of being cautious or conservative with these, so the 382 is where I'm really focusing my attention. I wasn't even looking at this one at this point because I was waiting for these bars right here to come back up and tag that 45.81 line. I was not hands-on on this one. This was set it and forget it kind of a trade. So when it didn't get back up to 45.81 and it made this move, it wasn't until all the way here that we wound up with a trigger. So this is, as you guys know, an infield fly setup. You got in at the top of the infield fly, oddly, because of the way that it came up and tagged the pivot line here. And then the move back down again is still underway, and 45.71 gave us just a tiny bit of support when the stock traded up to it. So it looked for a minute there like, maybe we were going to get back up into this fib level right here. But what happened instead? That prior support became resistance and pushed the stock back down again. And now we are just waiting for a tick down here at 45.32. And if we get a big move in the indices, which it doesn't look right now like we're going to get, then maybe we'll get an extension. But again, I would rather just set and forget this kind of a thing. 5 spot 32 as a target versus 5 spot 20. That's only 12 cents. That's an eighth of a point. That's not that big a deal. So let's just let it take us out at 45.32. So there you have it. That was Monday, January 10th, 2022. If you have any questions, shoot me an email, adrian@traderinsight.com. I hope you had a great trading day today and an even better one on deck for tomorrow. It's the best trader education anywhere, only from traderinsight.com.